Hello and welcome to week 2 of UED 451 as we're learning about exceptional learners. So I thoroughly enjoyed getting to know each of you through your discussion board post, your introductions last week, and hopefully have responded to everyone who has already posted their introduction. I'm a firm believer that we do have to have a community in order to be able to reach children. So I like to model my own classrooms that way, even when we're online. So I appreciated the introductions, the pictures, and the interactions amongst each of you as we're getting to know each other. Many of you have already been in classes together before, so it was kind of a reunion. And for those of us who have not met you before, it was great to get to know you. I love seeing how sometimes our lives are intertwined, either because we have similar goals, we came from the same place, we've known some of the same people. So I really enjoy those kinds of discussion board postings where we really are getting to know each other because, as I've said before, your classmates are the only ones who know exactly what it is that you're going through when it comes to your classes right now. So it's really important to have that support system in place. And I like to do that from week 1 as we're getting to know each other and getting ready to start the class. I also enjoyed your responses to the case study. As I said before, am definitely a practical kind of teacher. I really do think that it's important to know the information that's in our text and the other resources that I provide. But with so many of you being at the end of your journey, either doing your student teaching, getting ready to do your student teaching, some of you already have done that. This is for recertification points. But I think that it's important to be able to take the information and apply it in the classroom because you are going to encounter children and families that, whether identified or not, are going to need some help with the special education system or just some good practices in your classroom. So each week you're either going to have a case study or a video that hopefully you'll enjoy. It will kind of take a little bit of the academic pressure off because once you've read the chapters, you reviewed the PowerPoint, now it's time to actually get down into how can I use that information to best help not just me, but the children and the families that I'm going to be serving. So this week we're going to be moving on to chapters 3 and 4, which are going to be dealing with multiculturalism and families in special education. So hopefully what you've noticed about the way the textbook is set up is that it's very predictable in the organization of each chapter. You're going to encounter definitions, you're going to encounter any type of laws or legal issues that apply to those particular situations. You're going to see at the end of each chapter, as they talk about transitioning, how we're supposed to help children be able to transition into adulthood. So the chapters are very much going to follow a very predictable pattern. So this week, as we're looking at multiculturalism, you really are going to be looking at not just how can I make sure that I'm using best practices when it comes to a diverse classroom, but what kind of difficulties might I encounter when I'm looking at multiculturalism as well as special education? So when you're looking at things like I have a child that I think may have a learning disability, but English isn't their first language. So that really is kind of a double whammy because you are having to deal with a language barrier as well as the special education system. So chapter 3 is going to kind of delve into that aspect. And then chapter 4 is going to be looking at the families and how families cope when they have a child who's been diagnosed with some kind of disability that requires special education services, the importance of the extended family, the support that's out there for them. So it's a really good chapter because we need to remember that we're not just teaching children, but we're also reaching families. And I think that that's such an important thing to remember. We can't do it all alone. And so we want families to not just be involved, but we want them to know that we're on their side, that we're an advocate for them, and that we want what's best for their child just as much as they do. And I can tell you from experience that when families know that you have the same drive to see their child succeed, they will always be much more willing to work with you, to have those difficult conversations sometimes, because they know that you're looking at it from the same perspective that they are. So families are such an important thing to remember as well. So chapters 3 and 4, again, multiculturalism and families, and that really is going to kind of take us to the end of introduction to different aspects, different groups of people that might be involved in special education. And starting next week, we're going to get into some of the specific disabilities that we may encounter. So for this week, what I wanted to show you was I try and keep Blackboard set up the same each week so that it's going to be a predictable pattern for you. So you will see that when you go into the course content, when you go to the week 2 folder, you're going to see that everything that you need is going to be in here. The PowerPoint that I created that combines chapters 3 and 4, again, the overview. And again, this is just for you for additional resources. Even if you just bookmark them, you never know when you may actually go back to them. But in the study folder, again, you're going to find the combined PowerPoint and then outlines and other internet resources. I hope that you enjoy the way that I've put the PowerPoints together, embedding some different videos and resources, because again, since we're not meeting face to face, I want you to have the same kind of instruction that I would give if I were teaching this face to face. And so those videos and resources really kind of bring in the extra material and make it a little bit more applicable. So that's what you're going to find in our study folder for the week. And for the assignments this week, you are going to have the same thing, a weekly discussion and a weekly quiz. And this week I'm going to be introducing hopefully a fun assignment for you, a parent resource. So one thing that I wanted to mention, because there were several questions concerned when things were due. So discussion boards and weekly quizzes are always due by midnight on Sunday each week. So that never changes. As for the additional assignments, if you look on your syllabus, you will find that there is a schedule on there that tells you when things are actually due. But I also made a link for you that hopefully will make it a little bit easier. But before I show you that, let me go ahead and show you what you're going to be doing for your discussion board this week. So this week you're going to be watching a video. It's 26 minutes, so not anything that's really lengthy or time consuming, but this is a great video because it combines both multiculturalism and families. So I want you to watch the video, and then just like last week with the case study, there are some questions for you to answer. And so I want you to answer the questions in discussion board, and then make sure again that you respond to at least 2 of your classmates. So again, it's nothing that's really going to be time consuming or even really hard academically. But again, this is taking that information from chapters 3 and 4 and putting it into real life. So then you have your chapters 3 and 4 quiz right here. Please remember that you have unlimited attempts to be able to get 100 on this, or if you're fine, whatever grade you get, that's completely up to you. But I do have it set up so that if you are not happy with the grade that you got, that you can go back and you can take it again. And it's set up so that it will keep your highest grade. So make sure that you get that done as well. And then finally, here is your next assignment. So one of the things that you are going to start seeing as we're getting into these chapters is information about an IEP. So most of you have heard IEP. You may be personally familiar with IEPs, but one of the things that I can tell you, especially coming from a general education background, is that a lot of times families have no idea what it means. They have no idea what the process is. They have no idea who's going to be involved, and that's really frightening to them. So imagine what it would be like to not only be told that after all of these observations and assessments, we think that your child does need to be referred for special education services. So that's scary enough. But now, what is the process? Who's going to be involved? What kind of timeline is there? So what I want you to do is I want you to create a resource for families that would really document what are the steps once a child has been referred for special education. The information is in your textbook, but you can also find it online. So this can be no more than 2 pages. And the only reason I say 2 pages is because you could go front to back. But you don't want it to be so wordy that it's overwhelming. It's already overwhelming for them. So to also be given tons and tons of paper is just going to make life even more stressful for them. So we're trying to turn this into something that is going to be really helpful for families, but also for you as a teacher. I think it's really important to know, what does the state of Virginia say are the requirements, what steps do you have to follow, who's going to be involved, things like that. So here's what it needs to include. And again, you can actually Google special education referral in Virginia, and the Virginia Department of Education website has some great information on there as well. But make sure it at least goes up to the first meeting. Who's going to be involved? Because I think that families need to know that it's not just you, the teacher, and them, the parents, that there's also going to be other people who are involved who are all looking out for the best interest of their child. And at least 5 websites, resources that families could use that would provide additional information or support for them. Again, no more than 2 pages because you don't want to overwhelm them. And you have complete creative license with this. You can make this as creative as you want, but I will caution you, don't make it so flowery that you are obscuring really what the important information is there. So again, this really is meant to be a practical kind of assignment that's going to help you know what is the procedure, so that if I do have a child that I think needs to be referred for special education, what are the steps that I need to follow? And it's going to be something that hopefully you can save and use in the future. So the last thing I wanted to show you was the calendar link that I put in to hopefully help with due dates. So I apologize if that was not clear from the syllabus and the first announcement. But what I did, if you go into assignments, because I thought that would be the best place to put it, you're going to find that this is a link to a calendar. And so it shows you the due dates for the film analysis, the parent resource, which those are the 2 assignments that I've already introduced to you. Each Sunday I have on there that the weekly discussion and the weekly quiz is due, as well as your 2 final assignments. So again, this is under assignments, and it's going to be the first link that you see. So if you have questions about when things are due, that's where you can find it. So I think that is it for week 2. Keep up the good work. I really am enjoying working with each of you. It's been a while since I've been at Regent, so I'm really happy to be back. And so I hope that, again, you're going to not only enjoy the course, but really find that it's going to provide some great, useful information for you as you get ready to embark for your own classroom. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. And so for this week, enjoy chapters 3 and 4, and I will see you in week 3.